Welcome to Jablam Hockey, folks. I'm your host, Peter Bojarinov. You can find me on Twitter at Russian98, and I'm with
Conner Rowntree. You can find me on Twitter at The Sport Tree.
And of course, you can find both of us on Twitter at Jablam Hockey, and of course on the website, JablamHockey.com. Before we get into some trending now, what do we have this episode? Well, we're going to be team isoing the Arizona Coyotes with special guest Louis Pannone. We have What's Right and What's Wrong With coming back this week. A few trade rumors we're going to talk about a little bit. And, of course, a new friendly bet.
Always fun.
And finish up with some Saturday's picks. But first, trending now. Connor, what's trending?
Well, my favorite thing trending right now, Nikolai Ehlers' haircut tonight. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. He's got the cancer ribbon carved into his head and Hockey Fights Cancer written in. That is good stuff. Obviously, November is Hockey Fights Cancer Month, and he's getting a lot of respect on both blogs, Twitter, you name it. Big shout out to you, Nikolai Ehlers.
Yeah, and like we always do, especially with training now, we put them on our game notes on the episode page on JablamHockey.com. So check out the cool haircut from Ehlers. It's badass.
It is, yeah. I mean, the hockey hair, you think of the mullet. Mm-hmm. You just think of the outrageous flow that never gets snipped.
Yeah.
I think this might be the newest thing since the Yager mullet that has really made an impact in the hair.
Again, with November, everybody's talking about the mustaches and the beards and the beards too. I love watching the old classics with who are the crazy guys who had some good mustaches. I can't remember it. I even have a blog on it from last year. But even Peros and stuff, some guys had some wicked mustaches. But now this could be a new trend that he's starting. It's really cool. I like it. I like the haircut.
Well, I remember back in junior where some guys would carve playoffs would come around, you'd dye your hair bleach blonde and then carve your number into your head. But that was a little narcissistic almost. The bleach blonde never really made sense to me. Mm-hmm. But this is a little more worldly, I feel. This is a big step forward. It's not his number. It's actually a legitimate message that both the NHL and other sports, the NFL, everyone's trying to convey this. Let's beat up cancer. And speaking of beating guys up, Kevin Bieksa. Peter was talking about this before. How great would it be to have Kevin Bieksa Superman punching one of those cancer ribbons? If you haven't seen it,
something like that would be badass. Because Kevin Bieksa, and again, you've seen the video already. He really takes out Andreoff right here. I don't get it though. Did you see what happened? He goes and right before he punches, Andreoff takes down his punch.
We were talking. It's almost like Andreoff was trying to be a Muhammad Ali and dip the punch, but when you're on skates, you can't really dip the punch because the guy's just going to keep gliding towards your nose. And if you haven't seen it, it might have been more vicious than the Superman punch.
Yeah,
I think I got to give this. The second punch was way better. What was Bieksa doing in this offseason?
I don't know.
He looks like Floyd Mayweather out there. Quick.
Well, he's got to redevelop his game. If he's getting a little bit slower and he's getting less ice time, on the back end for the Ducks, sometimes you got to reinvent their games. Some of these players, especially some of them becoming more of the enforcer type in the 80s and 90s. Maybe this is a thing with a defenseman guy who's getting a little bit less ice time, but can get their teams.
Especially when you don't have a designated guy on your team to drop the gloves anymore. I mean, some teams still do, but most don't. Maybe Kevin Bieksa has molded his game into that stay-at-home defenseman, and I will punch you in the face whenever I want because I am one-punching people. Kevin Bieksa, well done.
I think it's great to see hockey and the community all trying to fight cancer, and everybody's trying to find a way. Yeah, I would be so happy if somebody can go out there and make a meme or a GIF of Bieksa actually knocking cancer out. But you know what? And again, in some teams like the Maple Leafs, Lou Lamoriello doesn't let them show some flair with the mustaches and the facial hair.
No long hair. But at the same time, I think that's what the Leafs needed because they always tried to do the little changes and it just wasn't working. The locker room was terrible. The attitude around the team, the fans, even just everything felt down. Everyone kept spending money. It was just a bad place to be. I think that Lou Lamoriello coming in, I think that dramatic change, the change you have to wear a suit. He prefers suits to practices too. Not many guys do it, but some still show up to practice in a nice shirt, maybe no tie. And now with the haircuts, they look clean, and it seems to have worked out.
Yeah, well, it's good that they're still. You can go out there, you can see all the players. They did their whole Hockey Fights Cancer thing too as well. But with the Leafs thing, they were going to mention out, they got beat up pretty good.
Yeah.
By Alexander Ovechkin, who has a nice friend in Alex Louis who is fighting cancer, and he told him. Ovi went and told him before the game. It was really cool because they've already met. Then he brought him on the ice pre-game skate. You know, I think he did the whole locker room thing where he does the starting lineup, which just sounds like a pretty cool thing. Maybe you should start kind of doing that thing where, you know, somebody who, you know.
Well, it's almost like the Make-A-Wish Foundation,
Yeah.
almost, except Ovi did it out of his own charity of his own heart, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. When you take that time, especially a superstar with the class of Ovechkin, and especially the way he plays on the ice, he likes to bruise other guys, and he gets a little rough and mean and with his stick. But the fact that off the ice, you understand that it's a bigger picture and that every life does matter, and it's really cool to see.
So he scored a goal.
Yep.
Then he scored another goal.
Yep.
And then right before the end of the game, he actually scored a really beautiful empty net goal.
Yeah, that is the most redundant sentence.
Is it?
The only nice empty net goals ever are when a goaltender scoops the puck and shoots. It doesn't even look nice, but it's just because the goalie scored.
Oh man, like the pass by Backstrom and the flip and around and the backhand quick roof daddy. I thought it was pretty nice.
I kind of wanted them to hit the crossbar. I was there.
You were at the game?
I was at the game. It was a great game, but his first goal, I mean, going across the body, those shots as a goalie, it's just, there's not much you can really do. And then an OV one-timer on the second one, are you kidding me? And then when there's no goalie on the net, hopefully a guy like OV can score. Hopefully.
Yeah. So, thank you, Ovi, and great job on helping out Alex. That was very nice of him. And of course, all this stuff is on the game notes. A few more things we wanted to mention before we left, I think, is Kessler celebrating in his own way NHL's 100th birthday. Did you see the video?
Yep, it's definitely seen the video. Make sure you watch it. If you have young children or maybe a younger sister, you might not want to let her watch it.
They've already taken it off the internet, so hopefully the link that we have on our game notes still works.
Because he fully walks around. He walks around butt naked throughout the Ducks head office in his birthday suit to commemorate the 100th birthday of the NHL. What?
So they took it off. I don't know.
I got an idea. What happens if I showed up on my birthday a couple weeks ago here butt naked? What would you have done?
I would laugh. I would tell you to put something on after you've done it. Hopefully you do. But I'd laugh at the beginning.
Keep that in mind.
I don't know how well it would go off, like, actually. But again, it's a joke. I don't know, like, again, they've taken it off.
I don't see any harm. I really don't. They do cover it, but it's pretty obvious. The last scene of it, he gives a little shake. He gives a little shaky shake, and that was a little forward. But other than that, it was looking really, really good. Speaking about a guy with a close 5-hole, because I want to move on from this topic, Carey Price makes a dramatic return to the ice Saturday night and got a shutout, or did he?
I don't think he got a shutout. I'm happy he's back. I'm a huge Price fan.
How can you not be?
Yeah, of course. I actually love Carey Price. I liked him before the Habs fans liked him. But again, with like 30 seconds left, I can't remember which Sabre player it was, but
It's Price, Reinhart bumps.
Sam Reinhart?
Yeah.
And Price is more initiating the contact than Reinhart
is. Out of the blue ice.
And he's out of the crease.
He's down in a butterfly, which is what I don't get. Reinhart basically bumps Price's stick with his skate, but Price is already in a butterfly, out of position when Evander Kane pots it in the net. You said it best. Yep. It was almost like, Carey Price is back. Let's give him a shutout.
Exactly.
Sorry to all Montreal faithful, but that was the most ridiculous goaltending interference call yet this year. They might have to change this back or something, because this is becoming a bit of a joke.
He's out of the crease. He barely did anything. Price initiates the contact.
He's already out of the play when he puts himself out of the play before he gets the contact, before Evander Kane even touches the puck. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. But anyway, he had a great performance tonight, allowing 1 goal. So 1 goal officially against in 120 minutes. Could this be the turnaround Montreal needed?
I said before, I think this will kind of happen and they start trending up. And we will reevaluate and talk a little bit about this later on in the episode in our friendly bet. Time for this week's Team ISO. Of course, it's when we specifically talk about one team and we go out there and get a better opinion than ours. This week's Team ISO is the Arizona Coyotes, and our guest this week is Louis Pannone.
Louis Pannone.
And see, I'm already screwing up. We're so Canadian. I'm sorry, Louis. So your Twitter handle is Louis Pannone. But again, how you spell it would be LouisPannone. Right, Louis?
That's correct.
Perfect. All right, sorry about that. And again, you cover the Coyotes for the Hockey Writers.
Yes, that's correct. I go to all the games, sit in the press box, watch all the games, everything that goes on. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. You
lucky son of a gun. We get a few passes to get to go see the OHL games. That's about the best we get here.
So far. We're building a brand.
Yeah. But the Yotes, yeah, they're at the bottom of the barrel right now in the NHL. But 4 wins in the last 6 games. They swept our Eastern Canada. Good for them.
Yes, they did. Yeah, it was a great finish to that road trip. They got blown out by the Jets to kind of get things started and bounced back with 3 big wins. So it was definitely nice to see after their 11-game losing streak to start things off. So
yeah,
can't get much worse than that.
They were fighting hard from the games I saw. I saw most of the Ottawa game and the Toronto game. They looked pretty good. They were fighting hard on the ice. So let's get into it. Before we get into the amazing Clayton Keller, off-season additions is where I thought, okay, I think the Coyotes are going to jump a few spots. They got in Stepan, Hlamerson, Demers, and even Antti Raanta. So we're like, oh, these are some really good, solid additions here. Who's working so far well and who isn't?
I'd probably say Derek Stepan has been the best acquisition so far, just based on the fact that he's centering the first line with Max Domi and Clayton Keller, like you mentioned. They're having success. He's kind of the new veteran leader in the locker room, I'd say. With Shane Doan gone, there's kind of a big leadership void in the locker room. So he kind of stepped up and took control of that. So he's probably been the best offseason acquisition so far.
Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know, I looked at Ronta's numbers. They look pretty solid. But I guess that's not good enough. Has it been Raanta or is it Hlamerson? I know he was injured for a bit. What's been the biggest fault on their back end, and especially other than you guys?
Ranta's been good when he's actually healthy and playing, but the problem is he's missed probably half of the season so far. Mm-hmm. He missed the opening night in Anaheim, and they lost that game, comes back for the home opener, plays well. Then they go to Vegas and lose and come home and play Detroit again. He gets hurt and missed 3 weeks, and that was kind of when things started going downhill. So the goaltending, backup goaltending, just hasn't been great this year. We saw them go out and try to get Scott Wedgwood from New Jersey, get rid of Louis Domingue. So he's been a good acquisition so far. He's got a couple wins. Actually got their first win of the season in Philadelphia. So he's been good. Aiden Hill, like you mentioned. He's been all right, but he's back in the AHL now. But Raanta, he's been good. Like you mentioned, his stats are good, but just the health is the main concern right now with him.
Mm. All right, and before we get to prospects, Domi has also kind of struggled this year. He had, a goal in the first game of the season, and then he had, are all his goals kind of empty netters? I don't know.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a slow start. He's got, I think, 11 assists so far, so the assists are there. He's just not scoring any goals. It seems like Anthony Duclair has kind of passed on his struggles on to Max Domi this year. So Duclair had a hat trick against Ottawa, and Domi has, I think, 2 for the season. So he's off to a little bit of a slow start, but just based on points, I think he's averaging half a point a game right now. So he's still on about a 41-point pace, considering that they're in the bottom of the league. That's good for them, but they'd probably like to see maybe 60, 65 from Domi, if they're going to have some success next season.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then before Connor gets to some prospects, my boy, who I really like, and I went to go see him when I was in Arizona, it's OEL. There's some rumors out there. Is Chaika shopping OEL? Like, what's going on with that?
Right now, I would say no, but if they think that they're not going to be able to sign him to an extension next summer when he's a free agent, they very well could look to move him. It's going to be it's going to be hard to maybe sign him if he doesn't want to come back or he wants more money than they can afford with all the turmoil they got going on with ownership. So if they don't think they can sign him next summer, they could definitely look to move him and get something for him before he walks in free agency. But right now, I would say the answer is no. But just kind of in general, I think we'll see what happens. Leave it at that.
Mm-hmm. If they were to trade him, maybe at this deadline, roughly, what do you think Chaika is looking for to add right now, or is it just more for prospects?
I'd say they probably have enough prospects right now, just all the guys they have playing in the AHL and all the guys they still have in major, junior, and college and stuff like that. So they probably have enough prospects right now. I think if Chaika were to move Oliver Ekman-Larsson, maybe in the future at the trade deadline this year or next year, if he can't get him signed, he'd probably be looking for maybe 1 or 2 players that can help out the team now. Maybe a couple draft picks also, but it's going to have to be a pretty sizable return for him to pull the trigger on Ekman-Larsson.
Mm-hmm. Well, around Arizona right now, a lot of big buzz because Dylan Strome, the 3rd overall pick in 2015, has been called up. He has killed it in Tucson this year for the Road Runners. 26 points in just 15 games. Where do you see him fitting into the lineup immediately? And then where do you see his point production down the line this season?
Yeah, he's been really good so far in Tucson. They called him up today. He's going to play, I think, on the wing with Brad Richardson and Clayton Keller. So that's 2 good line mates to kind of start out your NHL career with. He's had, I think, 9 games so far in his career, but this will be really his first true crack at the league. So. He's going to be out on the wing. He's not going to be playing center, which I think should be a little bit easier for him, kind of ease him into things, not have all those defensive responsibilities that come with playing center. So they're going to kind of ease him into things, but I'd expect him to continue playing well. He's got some confidence from playing in Tucson. Like you mentioned, he's been absolutely destroying the league. I think he's the leading scorer despite missing the first week of the season. So he's been great down there. So I think the Coyotes are expecting him to kind of get things going this time. This is his 3rd time in the NHL, so you got to think that time is now.
Now, Louis, you talked about it. You touched on it a little bit earlier. Goaltending situation in Arizona. It's been a little shaky since Mike Smith departed to Calgary. You mentioned they brought in Scott Wedgwood. Personally, I don't think that Wedgwood has the longevity in his career with the skill. But they do have a guy in Aiden Hill who you also mentioned. He was the 76th overall pick back in 2015, same year as Strome. He's got the size, 6'4", 200-pound kid. And so far, 3-3 record, .917 save percentage. What combination, what duo do you see Arizona moving forward with? Is it Rantna-Wedgwood? Is it Hill-Wedgwood? Or is it Hill-Rantna?
That's a good question. I think it's probably going to depend on what happens for the rest of the season. Like we talked about before, Ranta's had trouble staying healthy, and he's going to be a free agent after this season. So if he keeps missing, he keeps going out every couple of weeks, they're not going to want to re-sign him. So, but I do think he's going to be healthy. I do think that's maybe just kind of early season jitters and stuff like that. Maybe not used to playing every night since he's been a backup everywhere he's been. So I think eventually he's going to kind of work his way, into the season and stay healthy. But I think Aiden Hill definitely is the backup goalie of the future here in Arizona. We saw him play against Dallas in his NHL debut. Played really well against a tough offense. Wasn't as fortunate in his next 2 starts against the Stars. I forget who they played against in his next start after that, but I think he gave up 5 goals, I want to say. So, good start, but couldn't really keep it going. So he's back in Tucson as a result. But I think he's going to be the next backup in Arizona, like you mentioned, the size, 6'4". That's what you want to see from a goaltender in 2017. You have to be big and take away the space in the net. So he's definitely got that, and he's been playing well in the AHL with Langhammer up in the AHL right now. He's basically the main guy. So starting every night, playing well. So he's definitely the backup of the future here in Arizona.
Well, if Rantna does end up walking, do you think that he'll, at only 21 years old this season, do you think that he could make a legitimate vying shot for the starting role next season?
It's definitely a possibility. I think they're going to give him another look here as the season winds down. There's not going to be too much to play for, obviously, in February, March, and April, stuff like that. So I think after the All-Star break, they're going to kind of transition things over to their young guys and see what they have, Whether you got to go out and bring in another goaltender over the summer, or whether you can roll with Aiden Hill, whether you can roll with Scott Wedgwood, whether you can roll with Merrick Langhammer. So I think they're going to kind of give the young guys a lot of the ice time and see what they have. Personally, I think Aiden Hill will come back up. He'll play well. I think he'll earn one of the jobs next year, and he very well could be the starter if Raanta can't stay healthy and he moves on. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Keep an eye on the goaltending in Arizona.
All right, Louis, one last question. Talked about him off the top. It's Clayton Keller. He's playing amazing. 11 goals, 20 points, leading the team. Is he going to win the Calder?
That's a good question. If you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would say there's no way he wouldn't, but he's kind of gone into a little bit of a slump. It seems like teams are throwing their top two defensemen out there whenever Keller's on the ice, so it's going to be an adjustment for him to get used to having all the attention focused on him. Also, the emergence of Brock Boeser with the Vancouver Canucks. I think he scored 4 goals in 3 games last week, so he's been also very good. So I think it's going to be a toss-up between Keller and Bozier this season, honestly. They're 2 solid rookies, and both are well-deserving at this point.
Connor, what did you say Keller was last week again?
No, I took Keller as my number 1 rookie, and I think he's the obvious clear-cut choice for the Calder. But
what did you call him? You called him a mix between Matthews and Kessel?
Well, the way that when you watch Keller skate with the puck, he's always got his eyes up on the ice. The way Austin Matthews plays, he's always in the right position on the ice to give himself an opportunity to score. But then he's got a shot like Phil Kessel. Living in Toronto, that was obviously the analogy I used because that's most of our market watching. But his shot, when he steps into it, it goes through goaltenders. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was their game against Florida where he ripped a shot and it literally almost took Luongo's glove off his hand. And it went right past him. He's got the power, and he's got I don't see how he doesn't step up and win the Calder this year.
Mm-hmm. How would you describe him, Louis?
Ever since he was drafted, people have been comparing him to Patrick Kane, and after watching him all this season, I can definitely see it. Just the way he's, like you mentioned, he's always looking to find the open guy. He's got an outstanding shot if he needs to shoot. So he's a great all-around player, and just like Patrick Kane was with the national development team, they both scored over 100 points with that franchise there. So both solid players in junior, both great with the puck, great stick handling skills, and a great shot. So I think Patrick Kane is probably the NHL guy that he reminds me most of at this point.
Cool. All right, Louis, thanks for coming on the show. Again, we're going to post and tweet everything at Jablam Hockey on Twitter, and check it out on our website, JablamHockey.com. Louis, thanks again for coming on the show.
Perfect. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Connor, what's right and what's wrong with
you?
No.
Oh.
We can go on and on with me.
No, your beard is right.
Yeah, you like it better now?
Yeah, it looks sharp. Mine, on the other hand, that's wrong.
All right, but the sweater is right.
Yeah, it's Christmas time. It's December. Well, when you're seeing this, it will be December. So, yes.
Yeah. So we got a few things right, but we won't talk about what's wrong with us, but let's talk about what's right with the players right now. First, it's Vegas. What is right, or what is delusional, or I don't know what's going on. They are beyond surpassing expectations of an expansion team. Right now, before we get into what's right, would you be shocked right now if they still even have one of the top 3 spots in the Pacific playoffs starting. Are you going to be shocked right now? Would you be?
No.
One
of the top 3? No.
I wouldn't be shocked. I'll be shocked if they finish top of the Pacific at the end.
Especially with the way that division goes. I mean, the Kings are a streaky team. The Ducks are a streaky team. The Oilers, they're definitely a streaky team. And they could all trend upwards. Obviously, the Kings are already on the up. But, oh my goodness.
Wow. They are blowing my mind how well they are playing. And again, what's right? It's in my opinion, it's all Gallant. He is such a great coach. People have already gone on over in the offseason, McPhee, why did they get this guy in the expansion? Why did they get that player? McPhee, Shapachov, Theodore, the Miners, that situation. All kind of awkward, weird. But Gallant, doesn't matter if he's had goalie injuries, guys going up and down, Alex Tuch getting some ice time. Whoever's come in, even when Shapachov played, he looked good. Everybody's looked good under Gallant.
Yeah, well, for me, I agree with you. It has to start with coaching, but you also have to give credit to these players because they must have come together and said, you know what? In a lot of lesser hockey fans' minds, we may be a bunch of nobody names outside of Marc-Andre Fleury. I mean, I'm saying lesser hockey fans.
Out of us.
Lesser hockey fans.
I love my Riley Smith and my Perron. I love Perron. Go ahead.
He's actually just got hurt. In fact, he's out. But what was I saying?
Yeah, the players.
The players, yes. The way these guys, a bunch of young, fiery guys, and they came together, and they're meshing so beautifully. It doesn't matter who they have at the back end. They play with enough confidence that they're never out of a game. No matter what time it is left, no matter if they're up or down, these guys put their balls to the wall and just absolutely go for it. I mean, that may have been a little of a derogatory term, but they really do. And they push and they push. 22 games, Peter. They have 15 wins, 6 losses, 1 overtime loss. They are 15-6-1 and an expansion team.
But wait. Are they trending up or down? What are they in their last 10, Connor?
The last 10, well, at home this year, let's just say they're 9-1. Last 10, they're 7-2-1. So they're still kicking butt and taking names. And it doesn't matter if it's Lagasse in the net. Subban's back, and he played amazing. Fleury is still on IR. We're not sure about his timetable. Obviously, concussions are a big deal these days. But the way this team is just able to pull together, it's been mind-boggling to watch. And we both know the mark. The American Thanksgiving is the mark. It's the quarter-way mark, and it's last year it was just 3 teams that weren't in the playoffs come this time made it.
Yeah.
Vegas is sitting top of the Pacific.
Yeah.
So, statistically speaking, they should make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And any team, once you're in, can do some damage. So, it could be interesting to see. I don't think Vegas will. I think against the more gutsy hockey.
Did I mention it before, though? But they totally remind me of Team Europe, if you can see the hat down there. Because the way nobody expected anything of them. They came together because they were the players.
Got excellent goaltending.
Yeah, but they were various players from the other countries that couldn't make a team together. But they came together, they gelled together, they worked hard together, and they made it to the finals. Of course, they couldn't beat Team Canada. Nobody can. But they made it. Is it possible that they could finish first in the Pacific and make it to the finals?
Yes, I think it is more than possible because just this weekend I was looking at some odds on Bodog and I actually put $10 on Vegas to win the cup just because it'll pay me a good $500, a $10 bet.
Wow,
now it's absurd, and the fact that they're playing as well as they are, those are still the odds, and it makes sense because of how young their core is, how lack of leadership that they have. I'd say their best leader, the most experienced player, is Marc-Andre Fleury. Most experienced in big games. Yeah. And he has been bye-bye since the second week of the season.
Yeah. But it
doesn't matter. They're rolling.
Let's move on. We've got a few other teams that we want to talk about what's right and what's wrong with. And the next is the New York Islanders. They are playing pretty well. How are they playing recently? Connor?
Well, the Islanders have been on a bit of a roll as of late as well. They're the same as Vegas, also 7-2-1 in their last 10. But for me, the main thing is they haven't lost in regulation on home ice yet this season.
Yeah, it annoyed me. I was listening to we got Jay and Dan, and he didn't say home ice. I was like, what? In all games? How is this possible? But he missed to say home ice.
No, they're 7-7 on the road.
Yeah,
that's where the losses come from. But for me, why they're trending up, I said this in one of our first shows, why I thought the Islanders would be a way bigger threat in the Metro. John Tavares has people to play with. And we saw it. We were talking about Couturier all over Tavares in the corner there. Woo! All over. He dips, he spins. He probably had the puck on his stick for maybe 10 seconds there against a guy equal in size and weight, if not maybe a bit stronger defensively for sure.
Couturier, in my mind, is one of the top defensive forwards in the league. And he schooled him. He totally schooled him. And after the goal was scored by Tavares tearing him to shreds, I said, all Bailey with that goal. All Bailey.
And look at there's depth. Barzal is playing phenomenally. Mm-hmm. He's leading rookies in assists. Well, actually, he's tied with Will Butcher after the other night. But the fact that they were finally, I feel good. For John Tavares' entire career, I felt bad for him. I think he's been a waste of talent. Now they finally have some tools around him, and he is making them look good. He's making his GM look good. He's making his coaching staff look good. Now, if they can buckle down on the back end and really tighten up that crease, because I know I don't think Greiss and Halak is the best two-headed duo.
Greiss is playing pretty well, though, right
Exactly. Now. As long as they can tighten up that back end, this team can do some serious damage. Sitting third in the Metro right now, I think that's right about where I had them finishing this year. I had them finishing in third, and I think that's right around where they should be. But obviously that Metro Division right now with the way the Devils are playing, lots can change. But
yeah.
I think it all starts with the fact that John Tavares has people to play with.
Yeah, I think that's a good thought. I had no clue why they were playing this well. But yeah, he's tremendous. And he annoyed me so much when I was betting on Florida the 2 years ago when he destroyed Florida by himself in that series. All right, and before we go to what's wrong, Johnny Hockey.
Yeah.
Why is he playing even better so far this year?
Well, so one thing that probably the highest praise you can get in the NHL right now. After Johnny Hockey set up Jaromir Jagr for his first goal about 10 days ago, Jaromir Jagr in his post-game interview said, quote unquote, this kid could be one of the best in the league. He just needs to believe in himself. When you hear that from a guy like Jagr, we don't need to talk about Jagr's statistics and what he's done. When you hear that from a guy of his pedigree, how can you not feel more confident about yourself? How can you not step up? How can you not be Johnny Hockey? If Jaromir Jagr walked into this right now and said, hey, you're going to make it someday, I would, yeah, okay, I believe you.
I'd apply to every job possible the next day, and I'd be there in the sharpest suit ever.
Yeah.
It would make me want to do that.
Yeah, it
That's
really
for sure.
would.
Yeah.
Have you ever worn a suit?
Yeah, I've worn it at a couple of weddings. That's about it.
Yeah, all right. Well, yeah.
It's rare for me. Yeah, exactly. All right, Lau, what's wrong with the Edmonton Oilers? Oh man, the thing that bothers me before we get into this is why are so many people putting it on McDavid? They're like, oh, it's McDavid's fault. Oh, this and that. He's still up there. He's still putting up the points.
He's in the top 20.
What more? What else do you want him to do?
Well, from my perspective, I hate how everyone's putting it on Cam Talbot. It's defense. Cam Talbot is made. He's still average. Last season, he was averaging about 40 shots a night. He's still facing right up around that same mark. But his defensemen aren't clearing his rebounds. He's making the first and second save. I think what is really hurting this team, and I don't put it on McDavid's offensive production, I put it on leadership. I think that they believed in their own hype going into the season, and that starts with the leadership. It actually starts with the coach. And Todd McClellan is a great coach. He's making the money. He's proved that he is a good coach, but he's got to find a way to fix what's going on. Tell his captain to start leading this team. because he's the one that put the C on McDavid's chest.
Yeah, and I did not like it because he's kind of thrown a few people under the bus recently. The other day with Draisaitl.
Oh my goodness!
He's still young. He's still young.
I think Draisaitl might be, in my opinion, he had some injury time. I think he's been the best Oiler on the ice this year, and you just go and throw him under the bus.
Why?
There's something going on. I think from management all the way down to the fourth string goaltender sitting on the bench in the AHL. This franchise bought into themselves before anyone else did, and they are paying for it profusely this season.
I saw some scary tweets saying, "Oh, the Oilers are doing it. They're going for first overall again."
Well, I mean, how do you have a team like Edmonton? How do you have that team, and you still, with the puck possession, the skill they have, they should dominate puck possession. They've allowed the most goals in the West. 72 goals. They've allowed 72 goals.
Yeah.
The average team has played 22 games. Are you kidding me? Now, I know, McDavid doesn't play defense. Yeah, but he possesses the puck. When your team has the puck, it's kind of hard for the other guys to score unless you pull a Patrick Laine from last season. The Edmonton Oilers, I think straight up, they need a bag skate. And they need to skate the miracle style. Again. Blow that whistle, Herb Brooks, again. Make those guys puke and bring them back down to earth, and then help coach them back up and build their confidence as a team. Because right now, I think they bought into themselves. I really do.
We didn't really mention it, but a couple of weeks ago, Jokinen was traded to the LA Kings for Michael Camilleri. It doesn't seem he's fit in yet.
He looked good moving the puck on the power play, but if that doesn't turn into production, looks can be deceiving. It really, I don't know. The Oilers, I don't know. We got to move on from the Oilers now.
I still think a lot of these defensemen, they need to play a lot better. Like Clefbaum, I think he's banged up now. Russell, all those guys. Yeah, there's a lot of things, and we're gonna be doing trade rumors in a bit, but stay tuned for our Oilers trade rumor. Okay, before we finish this segment, the Hawks. What is wrong with the Hawks?
Oh, they're trending
upwards. They're slowly turning it around?
Slowly, because, at the start of the year, they just left Corey Crawford out to dry. Mm-hmm. Well, other than that first game against the Penguins, but everyone knows about that game, 10 goals, yay, woohoo.
Yeah.
But since then, Patrick Kane, since their little kerfuffle, Patrick Kane spoke to the media and he said, "I need to be better." He's been better. Patrick Kane's been on fire. I think in his last 7 games, he has 1 game without a point. And then a lot of multi-point games. He got a couple of assists tonight. Maybe scored a late goal. We'll have to check that. But he did have 2 assists going into the third period in tonight's matchup. And then, guys, we were talking about Duncan Keith. Mm-hmm. Duncan Keith started the year out extremely slowly. He's got a couple of assists in the last 2 games. Okay. He's got 4 points in the last 5 games. But what I really like is the switching in this deep pairing. He's playing with Cody Franzen now. I think since he played with Hjalmarsson last year, I think the Hawks defense without Hjalmarsson, they've looked a little shaky, a little off.
Jan Ruta hasn't looked too bad though, but
I think when you boil it down though too, the defensive core follows their leader, and Duncan Keith has got to be the leader of this defense. And
he was struggling for a while.
He was, but since he's got a guy like Cody Franzen playing with him now, a big body that can lay the bod. A big body that can lay the body, obviously. He can pass the puck, he can get it out off the glass, and he can score goals. They're now paired up on the first power play unit. They won again tonight. They won 7-3. So it looks like the Hawks are
coming
slowly,
back.
Yeah, they could be turning things around. They're back into a playoff spot.
I even think Sharp scored. And they really need...
Saad did score.
Saad and Sharp are 2 guys that have been really struggling, and that's what I was going to put it a little bit on them. They need to bring it back. And if they can, well, then the team's going to slowly come back.
I think they'll turn it around. But as you were saying, how did a team like this start the way they did? Because I have family in Chicago, and what's going on? Yeah. It's now Thanksgiving for us, and the Hawks weren't in the playoff position until literally tonight.
Yeah.
That's not like the Chicago Blackhawks of old, at least the last decade.
Yeah. All right, before we leave the segment, two players we just want to quickly go and mention is Matt Duchene has been struggling since the trade to Ottawa. 0 points in his first 6 games, but I do think he's just got a point.
I believe tonight.
Yeah. So hopefully he's turned it around, but I think he did have a lot of shots. So for some reason, maybe it's just the new system. He's learning the new system. It's not working yet, and hopefully maybe it is.
I'm not too worried about Duchene. I'm sure he'll find his footing. He was an Olympian. He's got the speed, and speed kills, especially in the Eastern Conference right now. Teams in his division, especially the Atlantic, a lot of young guys with a lot of speed, and if he can show off his wheels, he'll be able to give himself a lot more opportunities to get goals and points in general.
And then the last one is Nicholas Backstrom.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, well, I guess Ovi wasn't playing well. He wasn't scoring as often as he did for a while stretch. And then Backstrom, just almost abysmal in terms of like barely any goals and not so many assists, which is his forte. Was not going. But if Ovi starts going, which he did last game, and he keeps going, Backstrom's going to find his game as well.
Pretty easily just
chip it off the glass, let Ovi pick it up, and go and score on Curtis McElhinney.
Time for our friendly bet, Connor. We haven't done it in a little while, so let's put out a new one out there. I came up with this a few days ago. What do you want, or what do you think could happen more? Pens getting one of the top 2 spots in the Metropolitan, or the Habs getting into a playoff spot by the end of the season, of course?
Well, obviously both of those are really, really tough ones because with the way Pittsburgh's been playing, and there's been lots of question marks. And then obviously Carey Price is back, and Montreal's had their own set of question marks and problems. But I have to give it to the I have to give it to the Penguins, Peter. I had a bit of a tongue twister there.
Yeah.
But the Penguins for sure, because yes, the Metro is, in my opinion, the best division, but Crosby was so cold for that stretch. Now he's coming back tonight, obviously scoring the game winner in OT. They look like the Penguins of old. They go through a little bit of adversity. They come back, they get the win. Thomas Jarry has had a heck of a season. He didn't do too well tonight. But with Matt Murray obviously getting hurt tonight, Thomas Jarry is going to take over for a little bit. We don't know how long, the extent of the injury, because Voracek obviously ran into Murray tonight. So I think with Jarry, he'll be able to get a couple wins. I think Crosby coming back and proving that he still is Crosby, that he can still lead this team over the hump when he needs to. And I just think with the depth in that team, I really, really think that the Penguins have a possibility to make top 2 in the Metro. And then the rest of the Metro, obviously top 2 right now is New Jersey and the Islanders like we discussed, or New Jersey, Columbus, and then the Islanders like we discussed earlier. I think Columbus will finish in second, and I think the first or second, and I think the Penguins will be that other team with the 1 and 2 spot. I think they'll just start to click. They have too many weapons and too much talent, and they know how to win. They've done it before. Obviously, back-to-back Cup champions, so them not finishing in the top 2, I don't see how they won't, because I don't think New Jersey can keep up this pace. Obviously, the torrid pace they're on, the first place in the Metro. I think they'll get a little bit more of a tough challenge there from the Islanders, and then the Capitals and the Rangers. That's all wishy-washy. It's tough in there in that Metro, but I'm going with the Penguins.
That's why I put it out there as a good friendly bet, because I think both are basically. I think they should. I think obviously when the season started, we both thought, okay, the Habs are going to be in the playoffs. Penguins are going to be top 2 in their division for sure. But it hasn't looked that way so far. They both kind of been meh. So I think the Penguins obviously got to turn around. Crosby's going to play better, and the rest of the team's going to follow suit. And that's kind of with the Habs. Price was not Price, and him getting injured, I think, kind of helped the team. They were still floundering. But him coming back, and it's like, yay, Price, and then the team starts playing better in front of Price, as per usual, that's gonna happen. And I think that's gonna continue for the rest of the season, and then they should grab one of the 2 wildcard spots.
Well, see, this is where I wanted to lean more towards Pittsburgh here because, yes, Montreal's going to open up and they're going to get a lot better. Knowing that you have Carey Price back there, it'll let guys like Gallagher, guys like Pacioretty, it'll give them a little more of a sigh of relief, and they can do more with the puck in the offensive zone.
Especially with their defense. They need that. They need that backbone back there.
Exactly. With Weber being hurt right now and their defensemen maybe being a little shaky, they're going to need Price to stand up big, and those forwards, now that Price is back there, they'll feel a little more comfortable and get a bunch of goals. But why I don't think so, I don't think they'll be able to grab a wild card spot because I think the Metro is just so
strong.
Straight,
they'll take
compact. I think it's going to be.
They'll take 5 spots.
They did last year.
Yeah.
I think they'll do it again this year. I think the best shot right now that Montreal has is Detroit maybe faltering a bit, Boston not coming back up. Because I don't think Detroit's a playoff team this year. Obviously, Jimmy Howard's had a stellar start to the season, and Thomas Tatar has been going bar down the last 2 or 3 games. But it's just, I don't think Detroit's going to get over that hump, and I think Montreal can slide in there nicely. But why I wanted to take Pittsburgh is just because I don't think Montreal will have an opportunity for a wild card spot with the depth and the talent in that Metro division. So I just picking my battles here, and I had to go with Pittsburgh.
All right, well, we'll check out the rest of our friendly bets and even our Saturday picks, so we'll mention it a bit later in the episode, right on JablamHockey.com. All right, we mentioned these 2 teams, and we're going to talk about the trade rumors. Montreal. There's still question marks with this team. They're not scoring enough, or where are they going to get the offense from? And they're still not getting it from Galchenyuk. And if they're still struggling on the back end as well, maybe it's time to trade Galchenyuk for a defenseman. Maybe a guy like OEL. You know, there's a lot of rumors with what are they going to do with OEL in Arizona? Can they re-up him again, and he's going to want maybe a bigger contract?
Does he want to go back and play in Arizona? Because it doesn't look like they're going to be too much of a threat in years to come. We talked earlier this episode. Yep. They have some good goaltending prospects. Scott Wedgwood is just 25. Hill is just 21. So they're a little far down the line. So I think OEL might want to get out of town.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for Galchenyuk, though, you got to sweeten that deal a bit, I feel. I don't think Galchenyuk's worth that at all.
Right now, his trade value is pretty low. So, yeah, that might not work. But I think Galchenyuk is still out there being shopped. And sure. OEL is seriously being shopped, especially if he gives Chaika I'm not ready to be stuck on a younger team again, doing a whole new 2-3 rebuild again, and seeing if we're a good team in 3-4 years. So, other teams he could go. Do you think OEL could go to the Leafs? Is it possible?
Well, we were just talking. I think the three letter abbreviations, JVR, OEL. Yeah. I think there's some sort of deal that can be done in there. Obviously not straight up. You were saying maybe Bozak and a second rounder.
I would do it if it's JVR, Bozak, and a second. In my opinion, I'd do it in a heartbeat because. Yeah, there's rumors that maybe they want to re-sign JVR. But then if you sign JVR, he's going to be over 6. There's no way he's under that.
You already have Marlowe, another top 9 now
guy.
Making over 6.
And then you still have to re-up the big three kids in the next year or 2. So it's a struggle to keep JVR at this point and then want to still get a good top 4 defenseman. But I think OEL might be a good fit. And I would do it for JVR, Bozak in a second in a heartbeat.
Yeah, without a doubt, because Bozak's just over $4 million. That frees up. There's $10 million right there. OEL, he's a free agent at the end of this season or next season.
Yeah.
So he's still gonna be on that contract, and he'll probably want, depending on how he plays, he'll want about 7. So you are saving money in that perspective, and it's not like the Leafs don't have depth. Because Barry Kapanen is still playing in the A.
Yeah.
And maybe he's a chip you can include in that too.
Well, you might not want to include him, but some others.
Reichel,
maybe Reichel, in my opinion.
They got to figure out something with the salary cap, though, if the Leafs want to make any move for a defenseman.
All right, other guys. Wow. Peter Chiarelli is rumored to be now shopping RNH. And quite possibly maybe with the Bruins. They need some offense. But let's go down, as I like to call, Where's this? The Chiarelli list.
Where is this?
Okay, so Ken, he traded Kessel, first round drafted player, to, of course, the Leafs, and ended up getting first round picks, which turned out to Seguin
and Tyler Seguin.
Tyler Seguin. Then he trades Blake Wheeler, another first rounder, to Atlanta at that time.
Yep.
And then, of course, now he's on Winnipeg. Then he goes and trades Tyler Seguin again, another first rounder, to Dallas for Louis Eriksson and etc. Then he goes to Edmonton, and the first little move he makes is trades another first rounder, which, yes, he wasn't going to end up maybe playing that good. It's Griffin Reinhart. But he trades for another first that he loses, which ended up being Matthew Barzal. So that's another strength maybe for him. All right, and then recently, of course, nobody's happy about maybe the Hall for Larson trade.
It's now proving that he was a little ambitious where he thought that team was going to be. Because not that Hall was playing lights out, but he could have got more. He should have got more than just Larson. Larson's a great defenseman.
I love Larson, and you know what? At the time, it looked like a good trade in the playoffs. Larson,
Taylor Hall, just so people at home, you're thinking, oh, remember those years when Phil Kessel was in Toronto? Yeah. Taylor Hall was top 5 in scoring every one of those years but 2.
Yeah. How many years is that?
It's like 5.
All right. And then, of course, in the offseason, Aberley for Ryan Strome. How many Stromes are we going to mention in this episode? Only 2 so far? Not the other one? Okay. All right. And then now, is he really going to...
I lost count. How many?
Yeah, it was about like 8.
7?
It's like 8. If he moves RNH, it's like 8. Wow. I don't know how this guy keeps on trading good offensive talent or something with these guys. So it's crazy, but it's very possible, it seems like. And another guy who's very possible to move is Ian Cole has been 3 straight games healthy scratched in Pittsburgh.
Now that's a Black Friday sale. Like it's long weekend. That is something there's got to be to be scratched 3 straight games. They're looking to move him, and they're looking to move him now, and they're probably not looking for too much in return for a guy like Ian Cole. Just maybe get a little piece to help them out, especially right now after losing their goaltender. Maybe something like that. Maybe who knows? But to be 3 straight games healthy scratch in November, they got to be wanting to move him pretty darn fast.
When you watch this episode, he's already in 3. Time for Saturday's picks. Connor, how did we do last week?
We've been turning it around a little bit.
Yeah,
I think the boys have stepped up. I've had a pretty solid last couple weeks. 3 weeks actually, 3 solid weeks. The middle, and there was but no, we've been doing all right, Peter. It's definitely made our show a little more competitive, I think.
Yeah. So I don't know what I think. I don't smoke things. But maybe I was that night. I don't know what happened. But I can't believe I picked Florida to beat Chicago. And Tampa Bay, I wasn't sure because I knew Jerry was playing. Tristan was going to be playing between the pipes for the Pens. So I thought, if Vasi plays for the Lightning, then... But anyways, we both went 8-3. Somehow I'm beating you in the later games so far, which...
I'm just a young kid. I like to go to bed early, so I don't really stay up and watch those late games.
All right. Our games of the week. What's your first pick for game of the week to watch?
First
Saturday?
Pick for game of the week, just because we mentioned it in our little friendly bet, how Montreal, if they're going to make the playoffs, they're going to have to leapfrog Detroit. Well, they got an opportunity to do it this weekend on home ice. Carey Price is in the net. Jimmy Howard will most likely be starting that game, I would imagine. 2 hot goalies, 2 teams that got guys that can score but aren't necessarily known for it. So I think that could be a solid game, especially for our friendly bet.
Yeah. That looks like great. So who are you picking in that then?
I was hoping that you were going to leave the picks to the end, but I think I got to go with Carey Price on home ice. I mean, I know we talked about that goal and how they kind of gave him the shutout, but obviously 1 goal against, officially 120 minutes played now. I don't see him slowing down, and I think if anything, the forwards in front of him have gotten better. Brendan Gallagher's certainly loosened up. He scored the other night, or he scored tonight. Pardon me. So let's. I go with the Habitant.
The Habitant. Okay, I have a feeling that they're gonna win that one too. All right, my earlier game is the Blue Jackets versus the Capitals. It's Bobrovsky versus Holtby, two Vezina caliber goalies. That's great, but as well, both teams' offense are both playing really well, especially right now with Ovi coming off now the hat trick and everything. So it's going to be good to see who comes out on top in terms of that, goaltenders versus talented offensive forwards. But again, I like this because this is totally off the radar that the Blue Jackets are still playing very good this year. Nobody's talking about it. They're like what, second in the
They're second in the metro.
in the top metro. So nobody's talking about them.
No,
So
Sergei Bobrovsky. That's the be all and end all of that team. Can you believe that squad has only allowed 58 goals against this far this season?
Yeah.
For the record, that's the lowest in the East.
You know what? I don't even know who I'm going to pick that night. I'm going to go old school, and I might do a flip the coin, which I used to do.
No, I'm going, not a chance. I'm going with the Jackets. Sergei Bobrovsky is on fire right now. I mean, we just said only 58 goals against. That's for the team, obviously not him. But I just think no matter how hot Ovi is, there's something about when a goalie's in the zone, especially a guy like Bobrovsky, I think he just comes out of nowhere to make saves.
So where would you put Holtby in the list of top goalies? Is Bobrovsky's number one?
Bobrovsky's
currently number
right
one
now. He has to.
Yes.
How do you not have
How far low is Holtby?
I don't think he's that far down there, but I also don't think he's playing up to Holtby caliber. I think
right now?
he's obviously looked good in Toronto in that third period, but a couple of those goals were a little squeaky on Saturday night, and then he hasn't looked like he's in his groove.
I wasn't sure if. What was that? Is that like a dance? Or is that like the
It's that goalie warm-up thing that Holtby does, that creepy little goalie dance he does in warm-up.
I know.
But, I don't know. I'm not fully sold on the Capitals' defensive unit. They got hemmed in against a younger, weaker Leafs forwards. I don't mean weaker talent.
For a period, maybe.
For a period, but their the Capitals' defense is just old and used, I feel. Like, Niskanen's now getting up there. Brooks Orpik looked terrible. So I think in the battle it'll come down to defense, and it'll come down to Bobrovsky making the big saves.
Maybe the Caps pick up a guy like Ian Cole. All right, what's your later game?
Well, it's this one is another divisional matchup. This time in the Central, I've got to take my boys, the Chicago Blackhawks. They're going into Dallas. Now you may be like, well, Dallas versus Chicago. Why not always take Chicago? Well, this is why. Dallas is 9-2 on home ice this year. They have looked amazing. They come back. Saturday night was a perfect example of that. They ended up getting a 6-4 win against Calgary, a back-and-forth game. I believe Tyler Seguin got his hat trick on an empty netter on Saturday, as well as Ovechkin. So they're on fire. Their goaltending's come around a little bit. Ben Bishop, I'm not sold on completely. So I'm going to end up going with the Hawks because we talked about it. Patrick Kane is on fire. That defense is seeming like they're figuring things out, and I take Corey Crawford in the goaltending battle. So I think Chicago goes in and beats a very, very, very good Dallas team on home ice.
Wow. That's maybe a bit more of a homer pick, I would think, for you, a little bit. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think the big difference will be the fact about Patrick Kane is hot. The Hawks seem to be meshing together, and the goaltending battle. I think those are my main things for all my picks this weekend. I think I'm going to come down to the goaltending battle, and I like Corey Crawford more than I like Ben Bishop. Yeah, and then my late game pick is the Edmonton Oilers versus the Calgary Flames at the Saddle Dome, and it's the rivalry of Alberta. It's always great. It's always feisty. And now the added of Michael Camilleri coming back against his old team, who he's always played, I think twice he played in Calgary, and now he's on the Oilers in the blue. It's cool. I think it's always a great rivalry. And then how will it change and be a little bit different with Camilleri come back and playing in Calgary with the other jerseys? What
was amazing to watch was when I was growing up in the 2000s, was how physical.
How young are you? Are you 14?
Yeah, something like that.
I grew up in the 2000s, so I'm like, 12 years old.
Yeah, well, basically. Close enough. I got the facial hair, so I'm putting on a couple of more years. But no, what I like about how this rivalry has changed, it was a big bruising. It was always bruising, and now it's speed, and more speed. Yeah. So just the evolution of this rivalry has really caught my eye. Who are you taking, though?
I'm almost on the fence, but I think I have to go with Calgary. They are on fire right now. I love Johnny Hockey. I think their defense is kind of shortening up their errors right now. And if their offense is clicking and their defense is playing better, you got to go with Calgary.
Well, you know what? Saturday night, under the lights, when are the Oilers going to turn it around? No better time than go into your arch rival's barn and kick the crap out of them to turn around your season. So I'm going to actually go with the Oilers.
Wow. All right. And again, check out all our Saturday's picks Friday night or Saturday morning right on our Twitter feed at Jablam Hockey and, of course, right on JablamHockey.com. All right, before we go, we want to give a shout-out to Peter Bojarinov. He's one of our bloggers, and he wrote, again, we talked about it last week, and I think we talked about it with the Gary Price thing, breaking down disallowed goals. He is pissed and angry, so he wrote a blog. Check it out. It's right on the website already, and he's got some other great ones, and of course, check out our blog team. We've got some other great blogs out there, too. All right, next week, we'll probably have another Jablam Hockey Junior update, and we're going to probably take a week off from the fantasy hockey up and down, and we'll do some fantasy tips. Connor and I will give you one solid tip to help you with your fantasy hockey. Because Connor, how are you doing in your fantasy team?
First place, baby. I got a good 11-point cushion on the next closest guy here in the Jablam Hockey League, which is Peter, who actually is sitting in 4th place, although he's the closest guy to me in points. So
we're in the same division, and because there's 3 or 4 divisions, I can't be better than 4th or 5th or whatever it is, and because I'm stuck behind Connor, who's killing it.
You gotta pay the cost to be the boss, you know. So I'm putting in some time on this league, and it's starting to reap some rewards.
How are you doing in your other leagues? Okay.
Doing okay. I need to start in goaltending. I need to make some trades.
Yeah.
But I got some talent, so it's gonna be interesting to make a postseason push. But hopefully your fantasy teams are going a lot better than my other 2 are because, well, yeah, they're not doing so good.
I was in second, and I only have 2 teams. I was second place as well in the other team. And you know me, I only update it once a week. But I was surprised how well I was doing in this online team, which there's some good guys. But me and the top guy were playing against each other last week, so it was a battle to the end of Sunday. And it was a 5-4 win. I won, but then this other guy comes out and he beat the lowest guy 10-0. So he basically almost jumped us. He jumped me.
That's what happened to me. I was in 4th. I was in 4th place. Had a bad week. A bunch of injuries. Dadonov goes down. Weber goes down. McDonough goes down.
Yeah,
Murray goes down tonight. So I got smacked 11-2, and I was in 3rd place. Now I'm down to 9th in one league. So
whoa, that's pretty tight then. Though.
Yeah, it's some tight stuff. But you know what? Look, we want to know how your fantasy hockey team's doing, so feel free to tweet at us, obviously, at Jablam Hockey. You can tweet at Peter Bojarinov, Russian98, or myself at The Sport Tree, because obviously your fantasy team is more interesting to you than ours are to you. But, hey, we'll give you some good tips.
All right, check us out next week.